we need to have a conversation about Glen Powell.
Until then, I'm sure you'll make a killing.
How to Make a Killing is A24's latest film. It's directed by John Patton Ford. He did Emily the Criminal a couple of years ago, and it's based off of Kind Hearts and Coronets. If you've heard of that one, it's probably because it features Alec Guinness playing 8 different characters. The film sees Powell playing Beckett Redfellow, the son of a Long Island heiress who was kicked out of her family for getting pregnant at a young age. He grows up jealous of the New York elite lifestyle he and his mother should be living, but is technically still in line for a multi-billion-dollar fortune if he can manage to outlive 7 of his estranged relatives. But as his childhood crush, played by Margaret Qualley, reminds him, he can speed up that process if all of those relatives wind up dead. Powell was eventually driven to start knocking them off one by one, and almost all of them are a different flavor of awful. You got a finance party bro, the forgotten gemstone brother, a gun-toting patriarch, etc. The film is narrated by Powell while he's on death row, so you always have an idea of where the story is going, and the hook is watching him pull off the murders as his life continues to improve with each kill. The problems with the film are twofold. The first is the tone, in that it almost feels uncomfortable with its own premise. Rather than dipping into the ideas of something like American Psycho, the movie approaches the kills with a smug detachment, where the murders themselves take a backseat to whatever cover story Beckett whips up in order to get close to his next target. Whether or not each of the killings is playing some sort of psychological damage on Beckett is never even approached. He's much more concerned with keeping his relationship with Jessica Henwick afloat, though constantly lying to her about the murders doesn't seem to bother him that much either. And unlike its predecessor, the film ends on a cynical statement about the haves and have-nots of American society that feels like the remnants of a much more thought-provoking earlier draft. The second big issue is the casting. Qualley is meant to be the puppeteering femme fatale of the piece, and she just doesn't fit. The character calls for someone a bit older, mature enough to be weary of her current husband, and cunning enough to sniff out Beckett as an easy mark. Qualley hadn't even turned 30 when this was filmed, and clearly still thrives in roles like The Substance rather than this. Remember when Jennifer Lawrence was in Silver Linings Playbook doing the whole unconventional sex symbol thing right after playing Katniss? Yeah, this feels like that. And then there's Powell. Look, I get after Top Gun Maverick, everybody was ready to crown this guy as the heir apparent to Tom Cruise, but his career is starting to look like yet another case of Hollywood not knowing what to do with character actors who are trapped in the bodies of leading men. See the early careers of Colin Farrell, Ryan Reynolds, and Chris Pine if you need examples. Powell can do the leading man heartthrob shtick when asked, but he's clearly more interested in roles where he's a cheeky trickster, playfully putting on disguises in different accents. If they tried to remake Tropic Thunder today, he'd be in the Robert Downey Jr. role. It worked out perfectly in Hitman and was one of the only highlights in last year's The Running Man, but here it feels like it was shoehorned in at his request. And even then, the film doesn't want to fully commit, so each disguise is him wearing sunglasses and a different hat. Look, I get the industry is hungry for new stars, but Powell clearly thrives playing the freaky little guy, not a finance bro who's too cool for his own movie. The sooner Hollywood figures that out, the better, but considering Powell's next project is the lead in a new J.J. Abrams film, we may be waiting a while. So until then, what did you guys think of How to Make a Killing? Let me know what you thought down in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.